The Lifecycle Manager is one of the most powerful features of the HSM. Here we can set up some asynchronous tasks, basically moving, copying stores from store to store based on age, based on content, these types of things. So it's a very configurable, very comprehensive solution. Let's take a look at the copy task, for example. Here we can choose our source store, which is our local one, our Exchange store, and we're going to send it, or copy it in this case, to our Azure, so up into the cloud. Generate the name, we can copy from Exchange store to Azure, very simple. Put in a description if we want to, resume at a file ID, make it active, and of course schedule it based on whenever you want to actually run that specific job. So these jobs, as I said, are running. You can copy or you can move data that's older than a certain period, and you can only actually move data around once the retention period has expired. You cannot move data from store to store while a certain mail, for example, has a specific retention period applied to it. It can only be moved or copied around from store to store once that retention period has in fact expired. Let's take a look at another one, a move task. So again, we've got our source store here, it could be our local store, moving that mail to another local store, let's say a cheaper type of storage media. So that's the whole idea of this, is moving it to a type of storage media that's going to cost less, and of course maybe not so necessary to retrieve that data as quickly as you would normally require it based on the age or the content type. Let's call this one recover. Here now we can see our asynchronous tasks set up here, and let's create something a little bit more sophisticated now. We can check this, set up, let's call it the move job this time. We're moving it from the source store, which is our test1 store, into the cloud. Again, we can generate the name, moving it from test1 to Azure, and here we can see that task is there. We can move it across to our task operations on the right-hand side window, and then we're opening up another pane here, that's the asynchronous task pane, so we can actually set up the criteria for these files to be processed by the task using this query builder. On the left-hand side here, we can add these specific filters. Here we can see resume at, or retention time, for example. We can specify if it should be greater than or less than a certain time. But again, this is all associated with the initial retention times that you've actually applied using the Archive Manager, which we'll show in a separate presentation. Here we can define the schema, for example, if it's expired or not, for example, as far as retention time is concerned, the file ID and the date, and last but not least, the size. So it's very easy to layer these using the query builder. Here we can see the size is greater than a certain number of kilobytes or megabytes, for example. Creation date was back in 2012. File ID equals a specific file ID that's associated with something you've designed in the past. And of course, schemas and retention times. And if you want to have a look over at the SQL view, we can do this as well. We can wrap that, we can run a test query to see exactly what that would look like. There we can see it's been executed successfully. We can wrap that. So it's a very nice clean overview from as far as SQL is concerned. And if we go back to the asynchronous tasks here again, we can modify those asynchronous tasks. Again, you can only modify it once a job has in fact been paused. You cannot do it while the job is in process. So there's a very nice clean overview of what it looks like. If you did want to modify anything, we could change it here. Again, if you paused that specific job, of course you can modify it. You can start it out of the box here, you can stop it, or you can restart it depending on the situation. And last but not least, you can also have logs that will give you a nice clean overview of everything that's going on with those lifecycle management jobs.